Global warming. In this section, we list the evidences to support the assertion that global warming is indeed taking place, describe some of the ecological impacts of global warming, and describe what steps have been taken to mitigate it. The unprecedented ecological changes that are taking place can only point to one of the main causes, global warming. These changes represent some of the greatest existential threats to the survival of humans on our planet. The following are some of the indisputable alarming changes that are most evident. You can read these here. This year, the highest temperature of seawater has been recorded, an increase in the rate of melting of the polar ice caps and shrinking of glaciers, rising of sea levels, more violent hurricanes and storms, more frequent destructive wildfires. So here are some of the ecological impacts of global warming. We'll just make some quick summary here. This paragraph speaks about the ecological impacts of global warming as it relates to the melting of the polar ice caps and glaciers. One, there is rising of sea levels that is having disastrous effects on low-lying countries. For example, a few years ago in my native country, Guyana, which lies 10 feet below sea level, there has been unprecedented wide-scale floodings with widespread devastations. Secondly, it speaks about the loss of the albedo effect. The albedo effect is the ability of some objects to reflect solar energy back into space to maintain global energy balance. Some of these are the clouds, glaciers, and polar ice caps. With the loss of these reflecting surfaces, glaciers, and polar ice caps, more heat is retained by the Earth that exacerbates the effect of global warming. Thirdly, the loss of habitats. The polar ice caps are where certain species of penguins and bears live. The melting of polar ice caps represents a loss of habitats for these organisms and a threat to their survival. This paragraph here provides some data that shows the increased frequency and ferocity of wildfires and their devastating consequences. So we can make comparisons here. In 2019, that is the number of wildfires. And here in 2020, you can see that was the number of wildfires there. You can see a drastic increase there. Okay? It's saying here also that in the year 2020, in Australia, wildfires caused an estimated death of 3 billion animals and destruction of countless number of habitats. And here it speaks about the heat waves, record soaring heat waves in British Columbia that was responsible for over 1,000 deaths. So we are making a summary here. The storms, hurricanes, and tornadoes have all become more powerful, the excess energy for which is provided by a warmer globe. So one of the steps that has been taken to mitigate the effects of global warming was to limit the amount of greenhouse gases that are produced throughout the world. Okay? So this is what is called the Kyoto Protocol. More of this can be found in the website below here, but we just make some quick summaries here of what it speaks about. So in an endeavor to mitigate global warming, in 1997, Canada, along with another 100 countries, signed an agreement in Kyoto, Japan. The objective of this agreement was to reduce greenhouse gas emission measured in the year 1990 by 5% in the years of 2008 to 2012. A greater responsibility was placed on the more developed industrialized countries since they were more responsible for greenhouse gas emissions. They were supposed to have done this in two ways. One, by reducing their own emissions directly, and secondly, by assisting the less developed nations to reduce their emissions in various ways. One way was by giving them money for planting more trees and to maintain their forests. For example, in this endeavor, Guyana entered an agreement with Norway in the year 2010, in which it received $200 million for keeping deforestation at its minimum for at least the next 5 years. So the money that these poor nations were given are called carbon credits. Now, I don't know if this thing is still in operation, whether or not it has become obsolete, but since the signing of this protocol, many other meetings of the countries of the world were held to address this phenomenon, but not only has this problem remained unabated, but it is getting worse with time.